There we go. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the regular meeting of council, Tuesday, June 24th, 2025. We would like to begin this meeting by acknowledging that we are gathered on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territories of the Inca, Kappa, and Silk people. Also would like to take this time to thank Councillor Petrozzi for sitting in for me last time. Here he did a stellar job. So it's always a little nerve-wracking to have to sit in this seat for the first time, but thank you very much. I sure appreciate it. Late items, do we have any? No. Public input, do we have any? No. Adoption of minutes. Regular council meeting minutes, June 10th, 2025. Recommendation that the minutes of the regular council meeting being held on June 10th, 2025 be adopted. Councillor Petrozzi, Councillor Charney, any errors or omissions? All those in favor? Opposed, carried. No delegations or recognitions. 6.1 unfinished business. 2025 UBC Minister meeting requests. Deferred from June 10th to regular council meeting. Is deferred. Direction council staff is looking for direction on who we want to meet with for the following topics. I have a couple here. I will see what other people have to say. Councillor Charney.
I was wondering if we could meet with the Minister of Tourism and see the possibilities how we could benefit from FIFA. They're going to be bringing in a lot of people, a lot of dollars. It's going to cost a lot also. But so I'm wondering if somehow we could piggyback onto something to advertise merit. So if we could maybe meet with tourism.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Etchart.
After the police committee meeting that was last week, health care availability. So Minister of Health, if we could meet, because it seems to be a problem with a lot of police calls, taking up a lot of police resource time. So now that we have a new health minister, I thought maybe it might be nice to put in a request for that.
Okay.
Thanks.
I think with some of the changes that are happening, we would probably like to sit with the Minister for Infrastructure, talk about our infrastructure situation. The other one that I was thinking about was transit, sitting with either transit minister or transit staff. We sat with transit staff last year, and we get more time when we sit with staff. So I don't know if we want to sit with the minister, and I'm not trying to be rude here, but the staff seem to know a little bit more than the minister does on certain things. Anyways, and then the other one I was thinking of was police and justice, because with the police committee, we are talking about mental health taking up a lot of illegal weapons, 70 of them in the community, etc. So those are my thoughts. Yeah.
I would just say that with transportation, I think that what you're advocating for is your resolution around or transit, the resolution around funding. And I think that's we meet more with regional staff when we're there. I think you're better off meeting at the DM, assistant DM and minister level to advocate for a different funding model. Because we have told our regional staff that we need a different funding model. So I think you need to.
And I guess the question would be is how many ministers do we want to sit with this year? I mean, the first year we did 12. And then last year, I think we did 4 or 5, but we also had 3 or 4 staff meetings. 4 or 5 seem to be a little bit more manageable. Then we can attend the things we need to attend. So, Councillor Etchart.
The thing is that we might ask for 6 meetings and only get 3.
I get that.
Because when the floods happened and we had no access to the highways except for the east routes or whatever to Kelowna, food security was a big problem. And there was an abattoir that was planning on opening here, but I don't think that's gotten off the ground. So I know with the funding that we had for the Madrid, that might be helpful for food planning, but still. So maybe agriculture, but just a thought.
So one of the ministers we have not sat with is tourism. So I would be more than happy to sit with tourism. I think that would be a good idea. Tourism, transit. Sure, Charlie.
We're going to meet with the 5 resolutions.
Well, you don't necessarily sit with somebody when you're bringing your resolution, because a lot of the resolutions that we're bringing forward are from last year. And we already sat with ministers on that. Now, I understand there's new ministers because
Mhm.
the Minister of Municipal Affairs last year did not know about delinquent taxes,
Well,
which was,
that's the one I thought.
which was
we
quite
should-
interesting.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that we have Mr. Luck as our shadow minister for municipal affairs. So we may want to sit with the new
Mhm.
Minister of Municipal Affairs. Again, it's wide open where we would like to see it.
I certainly think so. One of your resolutions was around the transit. So you've
Mhm.
got that one on your list. Resolutions that you've recently brought forward are around public
Police funding.
safety. I think so if you meet with, the Minister of Public Safety, so that's your police issues, victim services, our costs for responding to in some ways, our costs responding to medical calls with our fire rescue service. So there's a number of your resolutions over the last couple of years that fit into that. And I think municipal affairs is also housing, which I feel like there was a resolution about housing. Was there a resolution about housing? No.
No, we didn't.
I think you've expressed quite a bit of concern around housing. That might be another one that's worthwhile. Because I don't know that we've met with housing in the past.
Not in a while.
But because it's municipal affairs, housing and municipal affairs, that covers a couple of your other major concerns that you've been expressing this year.
So we have to have these picked by July 2nd, correct? Yeah. So I think tourism, health, transit, justice. Yes, yep. I think that would be a good attempt to see what we can do there. Unless there's something. We might not, we might not, who knows? Well, with the justice, we can talk about the police funding, but that's gonna have to go federal. Because that is, but we still would have to have the provincial minister on board with that. So. So we have a recommendation that council direct staff to submit the meeting request to the following topics: tourism, health, infrastructure, transit, and justice. Is that where we're at? Yeah. Well, infrastructure. Okay. Okay, so not infrastructure, but the other one. Yeah, let's see what we get. So let's see what we get, yeah. Tourism, health, infrastructure, transit, justice, and housing. Housing. And that should cover all our bases, and we may get yes, and we may get absolutely not. We might strike out completely here. Yes, we did. The last 2 years we've done very well. Anything else? Anybody want, anything? Well, you wake up tonight at midnight in a sweat, drop an email. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. 8.1 annual report, public input opportunity, recommendation that council. Yeah. Didn't we? Thought we did. I thought we had Petrosi. Was it? I need a mover. Councillor Baxter, Councillor Charney. I'm gonna have to start writing this down. All those in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Gotta mark that down. 2024 annual report, public input opportunity, recommendation that council receive the City of Merritt 2024 annual report, including the consolidated audited financial statements for 2024 permissive tax exemptions, a report on municipal services and operations and municipal objectives. Councillor Petrosi. Councillor Ogan. Great report. But I like the way it's been done. Shows everything that we're doing. Nice to read. I haven't read it all, but I know it's a good report. I like it. CL.
So we should just have a call for public input for this particular.
Sure. Anybody out in the crowd? Ray, you got something to say? You're not public, are you?
He lives here, doesn't he?
First call for public input on this plan we have, the annual report 2024, which is on our website, by the way, but it's really well done. It's got some very good information in it. Second call for public input. Ray, I'm looking at you because you're the only public input we got here. Oh, well, I'll mark that in the book, Ray. I'm very disappointed. Third and last and final call. Okay, thank you. Council, questions, the report, anything on the report? See, Councilor Richard.
No, I liked it, especially where it had the section where it was talking about the permits and projects that are being worked on, kind of laid out that way. I think for the financial pieces, to understand where our financial position was, where, you know, there's the 5-year plan and everything like that. I don't know if people will follow it exactly where there's some stuff in surplus or not necessarily, but it's good that it's there and then people can kind of see the projects that are going on. So I like that. But yeah, it was good.
Yeah, it's well done. Very good information there. Councilor Hogan.
Okay, yeah, I had the opportunity to review the report. I think it's very well prepared. So it covered pretty much what it was supposed to cover. So the flood mitigation, our financial situation, financial position, infrastructure expansion, housing strategy, fire response capacity improved. That was good to see it. That one, the environmental achievements and community programs growing. So that's really good. There is a little sentence that it was bothering me. So on page 3, it's when mayor's message.
Uh-oh.
I know, like, I mean, I'm just, is it possible to change something or not at this point?
What's the sentence?
Okay, so when it says on page 3, flood recovery efforts continued, celebrating the grand reopening of the Millsboro Bridge that was destroyed during the 2021 atmospheric river. That little last part, it sounds to me like it's incomplete. Like it should be a subject there. So atmospheric river event, disaster, or something like that, right? That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
I think everybody's short.
Yeah.
Sure. Councilor Baxter.
Mine is on page 136. My name is spelled wrong.
No way.
Yeah.
Okay, you can leave that one.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's just otherwise it's a very beautiful report. I liked it.
Oh, boo-hoo. Yes, yeah.
So we're really working towards with this report, making it a little bit more consumable by everybody. So you'll see particularly, I thought the fire department section, their infographics were really well done. And that's kind of the direction we want to move into is more that kind of snapshots of information rather than text, because people aren't going to read all that text. And I appreciate Councillor Etchart's comments about the financials. They have to be presented that way, but it is very not understanding that most people are never going to be able to understand the financial section, right? They're very complicated, but we have to present it that way, but maybe we can find a way to pull a couple of things out as infographics or charts or something, but
I would wait till somebody actually asks to have that clarified.
okay,
Yeah, if somebody wants that clarified, they could ask for that to be a clearer picture.
okay, because we do have to put it in as the how it's presented
Yeah.
in the audit, but
Yeah.
we can try and make it more.
Yeah, and I mean, that's, the public can simply ask for a clarification on something they see there. That way we know they've read the report, sort of thing. And then they see that Councillor Baxter's name is spelled incorrect.
It's under there.
Oh. Yay. Right. So. Yes, right. So we have a mover and seconder and the amended report. Mover and seconder, okay with that? Thank you. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. 8.2, 2024 Statement of Financial Information, Sophie. We have two recommendations. Recommendation that council approves the City of Merritt Statement of Financial Information for year end December 31st, 2024 as presented. And then we have a second one that says that council authorizes the mayor and the director of finance and human resources to sign the statement on behalf of the city. I need a mover. Councilor Petrosi, Councilor Charney. Questions? Again, well prepared, very factual. Councilor Baxter, I wonder what this is about.
This is the report that has my name spelled wrong.
Okay,
Just want to admit, and then that.
okay, we can get that name correct. That'd be great. Any other questions from council on this? So the report in front of you as amended with the correct spelling of Councilor Baxter's name. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. 8.3 Strategic Priorities Fund Intake. We have two recommendations. We'll do one and then we'll do the other. So recommendation is that council discuss opportunities for the Strategic Priorities Fund intake and provide staff direction on which opportunity will proceed for the application. I need a mover. Councilor Chair, Councilor Hogan. You have some choices in front of you there. You've gone through them. I thought they were great choices. Sure, let's go ahead. See you.
You understand?
Yep.
So the Strategic Priorities Fund intake is part of the province's funding from the federal government through the Canadian Community Building Fund or the Gas Tax Fund. Currently, communities can apply for up to $7 million of funding for priority projects. We anticipate there will be other intakes in this one. That's why we've laid out sort of the ones we have identified from your capital plan that have been the highest priority and what the funding is for those and the strategies moving those forward. Their requirements are that the projects have to be large in scale, have a regional impact, have to be innovative, and they have to align with the project objectives of productivity and economic growth, clean environment, and strong cities and communities, or some version of those things. So we packaged up sort of the 5 big ones, which were upgrades to our recreation facilities. So both the arena and the pool are at the end of their second retrofit. So they got retrofitted, both of them. The arena probably has been done more than once. And now we're back to that point where these buildings need to be retrofitted again to extend their life. That is probably the most feasible financially, rather than building new facilities, which would probably quadruple the cost of building new facilities. A new arena, just an arena by itself, would probably be a $35–40 million project. We're hoping to be able to package everything together. Council already has some stuff into the budget for that. Actually, the next part was some transportation infrastructure, priority being the completion of the Vote Street project. We put a fire package together. So we know there are a number of large fire rescue purchases, including the development of a second fire hall, to ensure that we're meeting the 11-minute response time, and the Ken Gardwell infrastructure, as well as the utility package, which is primarily the East Merritt corridor, utility corridor. A team of us sat together and kind of did a matrix where we looked at current funding strategies, potential future funding sources, delivery of the project within 5 years, which is one of the criteria. It's got to be done in 5 years. The timelines to get going on it. Is it shovel ready? And how does it align with sort of the political environment in regards to what we think the community would be in support of? As well as, is this a federal priority and is this a provincial priority? Are we likely to get the funding based on those things? So you can see there, we've given you sort of a rundown of all 5 of those projects. Ultimately, what we're recommending based on other funding opportunities and where we think we can best use this money in the 5-year fashion is the 2 things we think are most likely to need this money are the recreation complex and the transportation infrastructure. So those are the 2 we recommend. However, we've given you all 5, so you can have your, give you those choices, but our recommendation is either to direct us to apply on the recreational complex or the transportation infrastructure.
Councillor Rogan?
We can only choose one.
All of these are gonna need the $7 million. Yeah. To partially fund the projects.
Councillor Egan?
Yeah, my concern here is that we've talked about for a long time about all our water shortages. And I thought that KenGuard, the well was sort of high on our priority as well as our utilities. And
So we're fairly confident that we have other funding streams for those. So the KenGuard well project is still in the design phase. Once that design phase is done, we're fairly confident we have other streams of funding for those. Similarly, something is going on over there with some lights. It's driving me crazy. Same thing with the utility corridor. We have a very robust plan for that corridor, but I think we have some investigation we'd like to do once the water meters are in and we can kind of have some more understanding of where the water is going. Right now, council has some funds in to try and do some of the sewer part of that. But this is a $35 million project. Oh, more than that. Sorry, more than a $35 million project. So at this point, that $7 million is not going to take us far enough on that one. So that one's a few years out, probably not feasible within the next 5 years.
okay, I understand all of that, but I mean, I still, when people talk to me about, what does our council want to do? What are our priorities? Especially when they're going, how come we're on level 5 already and we have no water 1 day a week? And why are we building all these houses? You're having 6 units on where there used to be maybe a duplex. They want to know how our infrastructure is going to be able to handle that.
So currently, we are using 75% of our 75% of our water license. We have the water, the drought conditions and our water usage in our homes are different things, right? We have sufficient water to build more homes and to develop. What we have to be conscious of is that if we use that water for things like watering lawns, which is not a necessary use of water, then that has a longer term impact. So when we're talking about water consumption, we're talking about, is there water for every home to use it for their necessary needs and to be able to grow the community, which we often hear people want a bigger tax base. That involves growing the community, bringing industry in often includes bringing in new residents. That's where the water has to be focused. The other things that people do with water, like fill their pools, are not necessary. It's like, that's not a core use of the water. So when we're talking about long-term drought conditions, it's not just the city of Merritt that's impacted by those conditions, it's the region. And so we have to be thinking more holistically around the region. And if the province says we're going to a level 3 or a level 4 or a level 5, we actually don't have a lot of options with that. That's the province's mandate. So the way we deal with drought conditions is not the same as the way we deliver household water.
Okay,
don't
well,
know how
then
else
I
to
think
explain
we
that.
need to be more transparent to the community about that.
We actually send that out regularly to the community.
I know,
in our
but how many people
communications.
get those in the mail and they go, yeah, right, and they toss it.
That-
So
I don't know
need
how
to
else.
be-
That's on them.
I don't know how else to be more transparent. If you think that there's a tool we're
We need
not
to
using-
be in their face about it. Like, get on the radio, get it in the paper, never mind little handouts and stuff.
It's-
Some people
it's-
will.
It's in the paper. It's in the paper. It's in the paper almost every time we do a city page. It's like, I think it's not this time because we have a couple of mandatory ones that we had to use up in the city page, but it's in the paper every time we do a city page.
Okay, well,
So I welcome more because communicating with the community is one of the hardest things we do because people choose to receive that information or not. Right? We can send out things in 1,000 different ways, but if somebody chooses to not receive that information or chooses to disregard that information, it's really challenging for us because we're using a lot of different sources to get like a lot of different channels to get information out. It's on the radio regularly. Kim does radio spots regularly. It's really challenging if people aren't allowing themselves to take in that information because they don't believe it or I don't even know, right? Like they're just not open to hearing what the community, what the municipality has to say. And that is an issue with people trusting government. But if they choose not to trust government, there's not a whole lot we can do other than continuing to put it out there. It's challenging, Councillor Egan.
Councillor Petrosi.
For me, transportation infrastructure, I have talked to members of the public and that's really important to keep people moving, traffic moving in town. And the River Ranch Road, is that part of that? It is. Okay, because we're going to talk about the River Ranch Road later on, right? So. Oh, it's not. Okay. Okay.
So it does not get to River Ranch Road. It does leave traffic circles at those other intersections. I think one of the things to think about with there are other options that we can do to improve the condition of the road. We can do a less expensive mill and inlay. So take off the chop layer and put some new asphalt down, which is way less expensive and will extend the life of the road. There's no underground infrastructure on that section of the road. We've already gone up, we've dealt with all the underground infrastructure that was under the roadway. The rest of it's now in the road allowance. So we would only be doing the roadway. So there are less expensive options that will extend the roadway life another 10, 15 years. And the traffic circles, the volume of traffic that we anticipate needing the traffic circles for is if some of this other development that people have been talking about comes online. We haven't seen that development come online yet. So that would be the grasslands and I'm having a brain meltdown, the grasslands, and there was another development that was really important that we needed that for. Oh, if we connected from
Yes, no.
the back end.
Yeah. Yep. Councillor Baxter.
I would probably, I want to go towards the fire package, although I know we don't have land. But with our continued growth in this community, we are going to need that fire station faster than probably anticipated. But KenGuard, are we sure we're going to get that drift funding when we do apply for it in 6
No,
months?
You're never sure of anything.
So could we not do it for this and then?
So. Yeah, that's why there's an option. We're pretty confident about it. We also have other funding sources. The other issue is that, like for the fire package, for instance, we have to be able to do this project in 5 years. So if the council doesn't have money for us to purchase land, then we're not going to get that project done in 5 years. So we have to have, $1 million to purchase some land, and that doesn't fall under this funding, unfortunately. So when they put these caveats that limit us in our ability to actually get our work done, it's very challenging because that would have almost was an obvious one to us. Because we don't have a real funding source for that at this point, but because we can't use it to purchase land, unless council wants to allocate about $1 million to purchase an acre parcel, we have to wait until we get some other type of funding or use gas tax, build up our gas tax reserve, as well as in the police commission meeting, police committee meeting, the staff sergeant let us know that we were underspent. No, Kevin wasn't there, by almost $250,000. So that will go into that reserve that you're building for protective services. So that will get us closer to being able to actually buy a parcel. But at this point, that seemed, we were like, oh, this is the obvious one because we don't have a funding source. But because we can't buy land, it kind of limits our ability to move that one forward in 5 years.
Councillor Chair.
Given that the recreational complex and the utilities package are quite high in the millions, 35 plus, I was just thinking that going for something like the fire package or Ken Guard just seemed more likely. Maybe there is another revenue stream, but if we're gonna need the fire hall anyway, I just thought that might be closer to the 7 than others, especially if, I don't know. But we may get, it just, a recreational complex just seems like it would be a long time to plan, and if it has to be within 5 years, I'm worried that if we apply for that, we won't do it. And especially, where would we get the money, especially if we're more worried about the treatment plant?
So this is not matching, right? Oh, sorry. 100% of eligible expenditures. So this, we don't have to have another 7 million to match it, but this is where we're talking about all of our sponsorship packages, right? So we already have, we know we have to do, $500,000 of work on the mechanical room in the pool. We know that there's probably gonna, by the time we get to it, $3 million worth of work for the brine lines in the arena. And that's, I think, in 2030, early 2030s. So, we're already making some large investments in your capital plan for those facilities. And if we can get those sponsorships that we're talking about, somebody sponsor the arena, somebody sponsor the pool, somebody sponsor, if we build a new gymnasium, we can do the planning for this within a year. And have it out to RFP to build. But it is, all of them are a little bit, there's some risk to all of them because one, we don't know how much the Ken Guard well is gonna cost yet.
No.
So it could be a $10 million project. We don't know yet. Right? We don't have money to buy land for the fire hall. So that's a risk to apply on that one because we may not have $1 million in the next year, which would still take us, it would take then 4 more years to get that thing built.
But if we only have a 5-year timeline, that's my worry, because something that's gonna be 35 million, if we don't have enough.
Well, sorry, the retrofit of the rec complexes is not a $35 million project. If we built something brand new, we would be looking.
So if we were to go with the recreational complex and it could be a retrofit that's say 10 million, then we could maybe get grant funded to 3 and then we could find it from whatever, either borrowing or.
We would get grant funded for the whole 7.
Yeah.
And then
have to come up.
And then have to come up with whatever remainder, depending on what we want that facility to look like.
Okay.
With the opportunity, if we can, to join them.
The pool and.
And then we have one heating system, we have grant funding for energy efficiency retrofits. So there's a few other grant fundings we can apply on for that one. But they're all of the ones that we need to do right now, other than the Vault Street. We don't have plans for, like, haven't done the planning stage. So that has to be done within 1 year in order for us to finish a project. In that 5-year timeline, realistically. It's complex. This is a tough decision on this grant.
Councillor Sharney.
I understand the concerns with regards to Ken Guard, but if staff is pretty confident and then get funding from another source, then I'm willing to put it down the down the bottom of the ladder. The recreational complex and transportation, pretty close for me. I look at the recreational complex and that I look at the mental and the physical health that it would contribute to the community. And when you look at a lot of the problems we have in society, and you can relate it back to either mental or physical health problems. So that for me, the recreational complex comes first, and then hopefully we can get funding for transportation through other sources. So I'm recreation.
Councillor Hogan.
Thank you. Even this funding is not guaranteed, right? So it's like we are going to apply. We don't know how this application will go through. So if priority based, I think that I tend to agree with Councillor Eakins regarding the Ken Guard infrastructure. We don't have to match the funding. So even any job that we can get done with this funding, if we get it, so that's going to be a win And we can, at that time, we will be able to determine what else is needed and how much funding else is needed to be able to complete the project. So if there is another potential funding for this specific project, can we redirect that funding towards a different project if we choose to the Kenworth project at this moment?
I think we can maybe make a call and ask that question about if we get the whole 7 million based on this and then we find out it's not going to be 7 million, is there something else we can allocate it to? 100% Danny can make that call tomorrow, probably.
Right.
So, yeah, and this is again, if you feel like you're not ready to make this decision tonight, this is a September application. It's just that this is going to be a pretty robust application, so our grant writer is going to need some time.
The other question is, can we apply, let's say that we are successful in this funding, in the potential funding as well, because we may need both fundings to be able to complete the Kenworth project. Can we do that?
We will probably be able to apply at other funding to complete the KenGuard project if it goes over that 7 million. The drift, I think the drift funding, we're really confident about the drift funding. I think that we pretty much almost, there was another one too that we thought we were pretty confident on as well for KenGuard, wasn't there? Was that the interior health funding? Oh yeah, the housing infrastructure funding that the provinces has, as well as that the feds have.
So
We're pretty confident with that one as well.
yes, in summary, so my top one would be the KenGuard infrastructure. And second, if that's not possible, the recreational complex. I feel like that through the recreational facilities, this is the only way that we can give something back to our community. And I think that those updates are needed. And that could be, my second top priority.
Councilor Baxter.
Since I was a child, we've talked about the KenGuard well and how we have to sometimes switch to it and we have manganese and people complain about it. So I'm split between the two because I see the mental health benefits of doing the recreational facility and adding more to our community and making the high school kids and the elementary kids feel more part of the community and have them have more things for them to do. But I also think the water is important because we need water to survive. So I am split between them.
Councilor Egan.
Yeah, thank you. You mentioned something about if you were doing the recreational project, you would be looking for other sponsors. Do you have any dealers out there?
So we've had interest expressed from 2 local large businesses to sponsor parts of the facility.
Okay, well, that would be great. And the other thing I was thinking of too is I also see the community benefits from doing a recreational complex, but would you also be including the curling club?
So we could look at that. The other options too is if you think about like, for instance, the seniors center is pretty dated and the museum is running out of room. So what if you took the senior center and brought it over there to that multi-use space, more intergenerational stuff, getting people of all ages together in a similar space, right? So there's lots of opportunities for how you format that, that solves several problems.
Except the fact that seniors, it's very convenient for them to have their center where it is.
Yes, that is true. Maybe the museum should move over there. I'm not sure, but we're having, you know how we are, we're having space issues in all of our buildings currently. So there's lots of opportunities for how we think about this complex, if that's the way we want to go, right? Yeah, and I think this is the only one where this is the only one where we're going to be able to apply unique revenue generating opportunities through sponsorship. And you're already committing several $1 million for retrofits anyways. Over the next 5 years.
Anyway, so looking through all of this, I would say that I would be leaning towards first and foremost the KenGuard, and secondly, the rec center.
So question on the rec situation with the curling club. We don't own the building, but we own the land it sits on. How does that work?
Well, I mean, I think ultimately district heating is an option for the curling center. Like if we're going to come up with one heating source, or we're going to do heat recovery from one section to another, so we can do heat recovery from the I'm gonna say it backwards, from the arena to the
Mhm.
pool.
Mhm.
You know, we can look at other heat recovery options, and district heating so that we have one heating system for all three buildings. So there's lots of options to include the curling club if they so choose.
That's
If
what I
they,
mean.
if they choose not to. And there might be some fundraising requirements that the curling club is gonna have to come up with to help. You know, they can apply for grants that we can't, and we can apply for the grants that they can't, so, or having those co-applications is always good.
Counselor Charlie?
I may be incorrect on this, but I think we only have 2 meetings left before September. So if we do table, it, we have to,
You'd have
Right
to
up
decide
quickly.
by on the July 8th meeting would kind of be our necessary cutoff.
yeah, oh, so that's 3 meetings if there's one in July.
Yeah,
I didn't
there's-
see it in the schedule.
Yeah. there's two in
So
July.
does council want to take some time on this, or do we want to move? Because the way I see it right now, we've got Ken Guard recreational, Ken Guard recreational, Ken Guard recreational. And I'm seeing the same thing, so that would be 4.
And
So,
if you'd like some information about whether or not, if KenGuard doesn't cost the whole 7 million, can we reallocate to another
Yes.
project? So there is that piece of information that we can get for you.
Yep.
So if you choose to defer this to the next meeting, then, and if any other questions come up the council has when you're thinking about this, shoot them to me and we can get Danny to try and figure out.
since this
the
is a
answers.
September grant, we've already got 4 people that want to go with or Ken Guard and recreational, so let's go that route. If anything changes in between, we can make a change.
So I will bring this back to the July 8th meeting.
Yep.
Okay, so you would like to defer it.
No, you've got the votes tonight. You've got the
Oh.
votes tonight for Ken Guard and recreation.
Well, you can only choose one.
Okay. Ken Guard, there it is.
And the backup is the
Yeah,
recreation.
Ken Guard and
Okay,
backup would be recreation.
like the way that, yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
So the choice would be the Ken Guard well. We already have a mover and a seconder, with the backup being the rec department. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Great discussion. Thank you. Water is important.
You didn't talk.
Something like that.
Water, no sewer, no town.
Nicola Valley Transportation Society lease agreement. We have 2 recommendations. That the corporate officer be directed to provide public notice of the proposed below market value lease of the Nicola Valley Transit Society for a portion of the City Hall building in accordance with sections 24 and 26 of the Community Charter. Second recommendation, Councillor Etchert and Councillor Olgan. So Etchert and Olgan. Second recommendation, that the mayor and corporate officer be authorized to execute the required documentation for the lease of the Nicola Valley Transportation Society following publication of notice. Councillor Etchert and Councillor Baxter. Okay, we'll just do the one, okay. Questions, council? Councillor Rogan.
So, question for staff. So, I know that we have been in need of space, in this facility. So I want to know if you anticipate the need of this space in the next 2 years.
Yes, but the problem becomes that if we put this organization in another space, we're paying for the cost of that space for our portion. So it increases the cost of transit service. So that's one of the reasons to keep them in our facility is we keep them. I'm hearing for a space that the size that they've got, we're looking at $2,500 to $3,000 a month. So twice what we're paying right now. So we want to keep them here for as long as we can. If we were talking about if the recreation complex became a thing, then we would have space at the civic center to move them to, because we would move some office over to the recreation complex. But right now, this is the space that keeps the cost as low as possible.
But we also are taking over the other spot
Yes,
in December
that is the deadline, yes,
or January or sooner.
or whenever, yeah.
Councillor Baxter.
I'm in favor of this because it keeps the ridership costs down, so our community benefits from having them get a lower rate to rent this space.
I agree. Transit is well used in this community. People really rely on it. Councillor Etchert.
Well, I mean, yes, we could use the space and we don't have an easy decision. And you need transit for people, otherwise it looks like we're not making a decision for the whole community. Practically, yes, we could use the space and it doesn't seem practical to rent it out for cheap when we need the space. But also if we want to have transit at a reasonable cost, we need to keep the cost as low as possible. So it's a tough decision and we're gonna probably frustrate somebody anyway. So you just have to pull the Band-Aid and say, go for it.
Well, also too, you remember last year there was talk about centralization and how hard we fought for that not to happen. So I think this is the cross that we bear when we do that kind of thing. And yeah, so. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. 8.5 Drift Grant Application, SEPA Middlesboro Phase 2. Recommendation that council direct staff to apply for the Disaster Resilience and Innovation Funding Program for the SEPA Middlesboro Phase 2 Diking Section. Councilor Petrosi, Councilor Etchart. Questions? No questions. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. 8.6 River Ranch Road Transportation Functional Planning Study. Recommendation that the River Ranch Road Transportation Functional Planning Study be received for information.
I'm gonna just call him up. 'Cause I know you guys got questions on that report.
Well, let's just see where we go, because I'm going to be honest with you. I need more than just 2 days to read this. And then there's some information in here that I have no idea what it's talking about. So I would end up talking to Mr. Green about that when I get to it. But anyways, so let's just see where we're going here first. Would we like Mr. Green to come up and stand there when we ask questions? Mr. Green, come to the microphone, please. Mr. Green, we didn't have a mover seconder. I need a mover. Councilor Petrosi, Councilor Charney. Questions? Councilor Baxter, you were first.
How far in the future do you see these options needing to be implemented? Is there grant funding available?
Okay, so the way this study has been laid out, we have an ultimate configuration, which would be that 5-leg roundabout, which is end of the rainbow time, probably well down the road from funding availability, and even though it's somewhat needed right now. And then they've given us a number of options we can implement on the way there that start off with some delineation right now to take away some left turn lanes on the River Ranch side. We can extend the lane down Boat Street to create some better stacking coming around the corner. We can change things on Belshaw coming down to bring in the Wolf as through traffic and stop. So there's a bunch of things that recommended in there in a progression, and we'd be looking at doing those in somewhat of a progression and watching and timetabling things as we go. So initially there's going to be some delineation. I'm going to try and time some of that with just plastic delineators initially, with some more solid median type things when we go to actually do some repair work on the asphalt on the intersection down towards Forksdale, for instance. That's getting wore out pretty good. So in a few years, we're going to be doing some work there. That's a good time to do some other work to support it. You'll notice the sidewalk connectivity part of that report talks about where there's a fair bit of disconnected sidewalks in that area as well, causing people to walk on the street. So these are all things we can fix in programs and try and get 15, 20 years of life out of a step if we can. I don't see the roundabout happening now, but I want to see it in the OCP, because part of the strategy would be to try and start collecting funds from developers that impact that intersection now, so we can put money away for it later through other sources of revenue and whatnot. So it is a bit of a progression. We want to start off with something simple and cost effective, which is try and restrict some of the movements and get traffic moving by these areas instead of stopping in the middle of stuff all the time.
Just this morning, we were looking at updating our traffic bylaw, which we're working through. And one of the things that we discussed is that there are too many semis going into that area and parking down onto Forksdale. So that kind of change of signage to make sure that those things aren't happening and enforcement on those areas will also improve some of this, don't park your semi in front of McDonald's. Don't park your car in front of
So
McDonald's. don't
talking
park your
about
trailer in front of
the semis in McDonald's. Every professional truck driver that drives by that sign, their GPS goes red every single time they do it. They're well aware that they're breaking the law.
Mhm. So we need to do some enforcement. through
Yes,
our
and
bylaw.
we've been after that, but then we get the restaurateurs complaining that they're losing business if we do that. So the other thing is the fact that people are, these trucks are crushing our infrastructure. Professional drivers know they're going to that spot and should not be there because their GPS goes red. I've sat in a truck that does that because I wanted to see if it actually happens, and it actually does. They know that they're breaking the rules. So enforcement is what we need up there.
Yeah.
To get, like this long weekend coming up. We're gonna be loaded, so we'd like to see some enforcement up there. Of course, that's the RCMP that we need to have up there looking after that.
No, bylaw can do it. Right now, we don't have the
That's
appropriate
right.
bylaws in place to allow the bylaw officer to do the enforcement. So
Yeah.
those are the things we're fixing right now so that we can start enforcing those to reduce the impact, the long-term impact on our infrastructure and to stop people from congesting that area.
And the sign that we have up there is this big.
Yeah.
It needs to be this big.
Yes.
Anyway, Counselor, Charney.
And this is a very extensive report
Oh.
and it is mind boggling, trying to understand.
Yeah.
Anyway, interesting thing that right at the beginning though, and I know a lot of this is for future growth of development of industrial and residential. But all intersection collision rates were below the provincial averages. So, yeah, what is the idea of changing everything if our collision rates are below the average? Obviously, there's not a safety issue with the roads the way it is now.
Yeah, you'll probably
Are
find
now.
that all of our collision rates around Merritt, different intersections are lower than provincial average. Not sure if it's just luck or what, but when you look at the congestion that's happening up there at various times, and it's not peak commuting times that it's a problem, it's weekend times. It's so congested that even if we are getting collisions, they're probably fender bender minor things anyways. We're not getting a lot of fast traffic rolling through these areas causing large scale problems. They seem to be navigating by the extra room that we have in a few areas and darting around vehicles that stop where they shouldn't. Every once in a while, one might get clipped. One of the biggest issues we have there is going towards the intersection up River Ranch in front of Tim Hortons and McDonald's. We have everybody stopping. There's one lane going up and they stop and park trailers and quad trailers and semi trailers there. It forces all the rest of the traffic and the oncoming traffic to go around it. That's one of the primary things we need to get cleaned up in there so that we're not exposing people to the risk, even though they're adapting and we're not getting a lot of collision rates from it. It's just a ticking time bomb, really. When you look at the traffic counts that were displayed in the report that we did, that Labor Day last year, we did the big count on that. That's a lot of traffic up there. And I think it's just luck.
Counselor, you can.
Yeah, thank you. I was just looking at your diagram on, I think it's page 10. And you have a bunch of different alternatives here for various, Vote Street, DeWolf, River Ranch and Forksdale. I was just looking at the Vote Street one. I don't know why, I mean, we need to have a traffic circle there. And alternately, before these big trucks come off the highway, they need to be directed to go down 286 because then they can use the alternate routes that are designed for them. I
And
mean,
there are
that's-
signs on that before they turn. There's signs on that off ramp from the highway that says no trucks to the right, and yet all trucks come to the right. So.
Truck 8 kilometers to 286.
Okay, well, then you're right. Then it needs to be enforced.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So is that coming to policy? Or do you just change the job description?
No, we will, we'll be bringing the traffic hopefully in the fall, like September. We want to send it to legal as well, to make sure we're ready to go with it. And then that will impact, our traffic bylaw will then impact our MTI. And which are two bylaws that we don't have up to date as well. So those are our fine bylaws. So once the traffic bylaws updated and our fine bylaws are updated, then we'll be able to start enforcing, but it is a bit of a process. Because these ones have to go to legal.
So then nothing's gonna change for the summer.
We can do some education. Yeah, we can get Wes out there doing some education. Absolutely. We can ask the RCMP to do some education. We could ask, what is it called? what is it?
CVSE.
CVSE.
To come and actually enforce in our area instead of just in Kamloops. So there are some things we could try to get people moving properly.
Thank
Councillor Richard.
With all this information, I was just wondering. We have a lot of trucks that have to come down this way to supply the stores, and so. I don't know if. What kind of restrictions you could really put on there right now. Also, if there's some people that are over at the truck stop that are trying to access places like McDonald's or Canadian Tire, how do they get there if they, it's not really an easy walking path to come across from the truck stop over by where the Esso is. So, I mean, I can appreciate not wanting the trucks there, but also are you trying to restrict the larger truck traffic even to come in? Because I mean, No Frills and all the big suppliers there have to be there.
So-
Yeah.
So the difference is truck routes for and vehicles that are doing local deliveries. So if it's delivering to No Frills or McDonald's, the difference is those trucks are not supposed to park there on the side of the road all day. Right? What we're seeing is trucks coming in that are not in fact delivering. So if a truck is delivering to Canadian Tire, they're allowed to come off the truck route because they have to come off the truck route, but they're not meant to be sitting on our roadways or driving on our roadways. We see a lot of trucks right now coming right down Hope. That's not the truck route, right? When you have different types of roads have different types of asphalt cover.
Yeah, I understand.
And so we need them to stay on the ones that are built for them, unless they're delivering specifically to somewhere. But when you get trucks that are just parking on the roadways outside of
McDonald's, yeah.
well, even just on Forksdale, right? Those are ones we want to limit their abilities to just drive on our roads.
Well, the other thing I was wondering about was if you're gonna have the traffic circles in there, how's that gonna impact the delivery trucks? Because some of those traffic circles are pretty skinny. So how,
I think they would take the truck route in and come back by the truck route, through the back end,
And
the truck route from,
and then come down, go around by the school and come down that way.
how are you gonna get to No Frills or Canadian Tire by taking the truck route?
One way around it, you can do it easier than coming in.
Well, you know what, let's the expert answer that one. Oh, check your mic off.
There we go.
The truck
Now
route
it's
would
red.
be-
Is it supposed to be red?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. One of the design features of most roundabouts is they have the lane and then they have a flat sloped apron sort of into the middle for a bit for trailing wheels and whatnot. So you can get a fair bit of truck around those things, by and large, most of the time. It's not like there's a big curb right there keeping from going in there. So there'd be a traffic lane, then there'd be a fairly large apron that's usually bigger than the traffic lane, then a feature in the middle, so they can't drive straight through and you can't see straight through. So if they get trapped in there, they can always get around. One of the things we have to be cognizant of from the truck perspective is we shouldn't be doing things to keep trucks out of there completely, because in the wintertime, when the Coke's closed or something like that, we got to find a place to put trucks when they're all descending on town. Bearing in mind that that area was not designed for trucks. If you look at the geometry, things going on to DeWolf and whatnot, the area by Boston Pizza, that area was set up for trucks, and that's what it should be being used for. We need to get those services out there that support the trucking industry, instead of having them come in to an area that's not designed for them. We're getting highway buses in there now as well. Probably always have, but something I've been noticing quite a bit. They're very hard on the asphalt. When you come and take that big turn on the DeWolf, we're gonna see that torn up in fairly short order.
Well, they used
Okay.
to have two entrances into DeWolf about 25 years ago, and then it was redesigned.
Yep.
So I know that, things have taken some change, because
So from a perspective of the report, when you do sit down and read it and, do take some beer with you or something, it's a big read, you're gonna want some
not
sustenance and
just say that
whatnot.
in a public council meeting.
Well, there's non-alcoholic beer, it's okay. But I'll draw your attention to a table. It's down near the summary or the recommendations. It's a cost benefit table that
Mhm.
shows some of the larger changes that we can do and what they will actually achieve, and not only the cost of, or the base cost of the actual infrastructure, but the societal benefit costs are built into that table as well. So it's a good read, and also pay attention, if you don't mind, to the progression of things. So, if we could afford to do it all right now, you'd see a huge change up there. And to do even that 5-leg roundabout with all the things that would have to happen to fix that entire area, you're gonna be having access issues with people that are gonna wanna argue it. There's gonna be another 1 or 2 potential roundabouts, Belshaw and down River Ranch to bring people around and back up again. There's gonna be a lot of stuff going on, and the theory is that if we step into it a little bit of a time, move people along, get them to turn around in different locations. Once we start seeing the traffic spread out, it'll tell us a lot more about the timeline. We should be able to get a long way down the road before we have to spend big dollars on the big roundabout, just by adding some small features, low cost, a little bit this year, a little bit next year kind of a thing. And we should be able to get there. Some of it's just recommended line painting changes of who's got stop control at any one time. But the biggest conflict we have right now is getting out of DeWolf into the intersection and then getting off of Vogt Street going, what is it, east down River Ranch towards McDonald's and Tim Hortons. The geometry there does not work to support left turns into McDonald's and Tim Hortons. It doesn't work. There's not enough stacking room there, and we have to move that traffic through, bring them around in a different way and have them come back.
That's how it is in Kamloops, yeah.
Yeah.
Up by the Chevron area.
Yep.
Very clean. That's
Very,
where they
very
have it.
similar. And you're, 200-300 meters by the time you get to turn around and come back. And we have a turnaround all the way down to the end of Forksdale by Canadian Tire. We direct all the traffic there. It can turn around and come back and
Mhm.
safely get to where they're going.
And people do it and it seems to flow, so, yeah.
And if you want to have a look at what a good roundabout is the one at Luckakuk Way going into Chilliwack. That one's
Yeah.
built for large trucks. They actually have an extra lane for the large semis that go around. And sometimes I get confused and I end up in it and I'm like, what am I doing here? And I just continue to go around and then finally I bail out. Councilor Petrosi.
I just wanted to comment, I guess in the report, it was mentioned when 286 is up and running, it may ease some of the pressure. But then again, it may not. Everybody likes their McDonald's or Tim Hortons or
Well, I'm
Starbucks.
recognizing that
It's-
286 isn't catering to the trucking community.
Yeah.
Nobody's catering to the trucking community
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
And we really need any development out by the airport to pick that torch up and go with it.
Yeah,
So,
and Canadian Tire, the owner had put up signs about no overnight parking for the big trucks, because those trucks are just hell, well, hell on the pavement if they're sitting for too long.
Yeah.
And I guess they're, so we really don't have any sitting overnight in the parking lot there, but on Forksdale.
Yeah.
I guess they're sitting overnight there.
and there's signs there that
And-
say. you
Yeah,
can't do it.
and just gotta be hell on the pavement. It's the weight of these trucks, so,
And a lot of them sit there and run when it's cooler out.
yeah.
Like, you're sitting at my place and I can hear trucks run up there in the middle of the night when it's clear out, so. Just.
Well, since you live there, yeah, you know exactly what's going on in that intersection and the.
Well, that's the beauty of it. I get to
issues.
see all the chaos all
Yeah.
the time
Yeah.
and almost every day.
And
if I'm
with
in
me
the work.
working up there too, same thing, so,
Yeah.
thanks.
CEO.
So a couple of things. Will we see some reduction of the pressure in that area once the through road to the college goes in off of, I can't remember what road.
That'll be off of Bremner, which is off of Walters.
Yes, thank you.
That pressure probably will not be coming off their main entrance. That'll be access to the new residences and whatnot more than anything. Long term, when they complete their ring road, we might see some different patterns and whatnot. But traffic patterns are almost like chasing drainage, right? You block something up here, the water moves there. You do it the same way. You change something, you observe it for a little while, you change something else, and you observe it, and you slowly get everything corralled. Whoops, you don't usually put the big solution on right away and spend all the big dollars when you can do little things and improvement all the way along. 286 could be a big change for that neighborhood. So could
Yeah.
take a lot of highway traffic out of that area.
So the second thing I wanted to say is this is a very complex report. It hurt my head when I read it like 6 months ago. I was like,
And
we're
this
gonna
is
get
stuff I nerd out on. I just.
I'm gonna get a
sit
map
there-
out so I can kind of orient myself. So if you would like to just block some time with the director, if anybody wants to talk about some of the technical stuff in it, or they're like a little bit, want to have a little bit more clarity on that report, just come in and block some time with the director. If you come up with anything in that conversation that he thinks he needs the whole of council to get an update on, we'll just send out a whole of council email on that, just in case there's a, like say, Councillor Charney comes in and sits with him for half an hour and asks a question that we're like, oh yeah, everybody needs to have that piece of information. We'll get that out. So we don't want anybody to feel like they're missing out on information. But do come in and if book time with the director if you need a little bit more clarity on the report.
We do want to get these concepts into the OCP that's going on this year. And remembering that we want to step into this thing. We don't want to create havoc out there and change the whole world right now and have 18 months of construction right there either. We'll step into it slowly.
Question on the roundabouts. In this report, I haven't completely read it. I've read a lot of it, but not all of it. Have we had a discussion about the First Nations cooperation on the land that we have to expand on? Is that?
There's different.
Okay, thank you. I just was wondering.
So that's the one over on Grimmett?
Yeah.
Yeah, that plan's already there and it's waiting for funding and development next to it to all work itself out.
Thank you, Councillor Hogan.
Thank you. So I am on the same page with them. So it was a lot of information and I have quite a few questions, technical questions. So would that be beneficial to schedule a lunch and learn so that everyone can, you can go over that specific, report and we can ask all the questions that we may have?
I think it might be challenging to schedule that before September because you're going on holiday, right, at the beginning of July? And you'll be gone. Yeah, so you're gone for most of the end of the summer. I feel like somebody else was leaving. You're gone. So it'd be definitely you're gone. So is this something we can wait till September on, knowing that we're not making any big moves and we have no real funding for it right now anyways?
Director, can we wait till September?
Yeah, and I would suggest that some meetings would be appropriate right now, individual, because if we prepare for a lunch and learn, with the amount of things going on there, we probably wouldn't touch anything that I prepared anyways and guessed for, because there's going to be questions coming out of all kinds of places. But if we do a bunch of individual meetings and then possibly do a lunch and learn at the end of asking questions, I can get a better idea where things are at and get something more targeted.
So that gives you an opportunity more in your own timelines to talk to him about your specific questions and he can put a presentation together based on that for a lunch and learn. Or even a committee of the whole so the community can see it.
Councillor Egan.
Have any of the business owners in these areas been approached?
No.
No? Okay.
No, it's too early. Any other questions? All those in favor? Opposed, carried. Yeah, we moved it. Councillor Petrosi and Councillor Charney. Yeah, I mark it down now. Notices of motion. I have one. Budget. I would like to, as we move forward to budget, and I'll get this to you, I guess, tomorrow, Linda. I would like to see the cost of what it would cost to fence off Spirit Square and add closed circuit cameras.
So we're actually doing design work on Spirit Square. So I will include that in the conceptual design, some cost. So I don't know that you need to do a notice of
Okay,
motion.
I wasn't sure that was happening.
Because it's all, I had written down all the things you
Okay.
guys had talked about.
Good.
And so I'll talk about those things for design
Pull that
options.
back. I hope to see that. Excellent. Any other notices of motion? No. Reports from council. Ooh, Councillor Baxter is right there.
On June 19th, I went to the Nicola Valley Transportation Society meeting, which they brought up the lease. Hopefully that was gonna be settled, but it's in this one, so I'm happy. And then on June 19th, I went to the grad walk and then the ceremony. It was really well presented and I was really happy with the students. And then on the 24th, I went to the grad parade, which I saw the mayor. He went the opposite direction. And then it was a really good parade. I liked it. And then I went to the grad prom and the dresses were really pretty.
Councillor Egan.
Thank you. As I wasn't here at the last meeting, I just wanted to add that I did go to the TNV open house on June the 2nd. I went on the downtown walk revitalization tour on the 3rd. I attended a Zoom on forestry updates with BC Council of Forestry Industries on June the 4th. And then on June the 11th, I went to the Enbridge Roundtable, which I found really interesting. And at this point, I just wanted to thank TNV for all their work on the Antique Car Club. They actually made trophies that reflected merit for them to give away for their prizes. And I was talking to a couple of the fellows in the parking lot today, and they were very, very impressed. They said, "Oh, I thought we were here incognito," and we drive up And there we are on the billboard. Welcome Antique Car Show. So they're pretty happy about that. Thank you.
Councillor Cherney.
I didn't really do much. On the 11th, I went to the Enbridge roundtable and I finally got my answer to the questions that I've been asking for 2 years. Where is that power line going? And it was originally, Councillor Etchart, right by the rodeo grounds and then up. But thank heavens there's a woodpecker that is mating there.
Just one?
Just one.
That's all it takes.
Anyway, the woodpecker. So now the power line is way down the other end of it. Yeah. But it was a very good presentation. I thought it was well organized, lots of information. And I did send that information to the CAO that I think it'd be really important for us to invite them to our Christmas parade. And so that the community gets to know who they are and then also have a table at the open house. And I went into a pickleball tournament on the weekend.
Did you break anything?
My knees, won 3, lost 3.
Oh,
So there we go.
50-50. Councillor Richard.
Well, I was with councillors Egan and Charney at the Enbridge lunch and it was good. Lots of information. So it seems like they're gonna have a crew here probably in 2026. So they were kind of wondering what we need as a community and also ways that they can maybe make some donations to certain groups in the community when they're here. Crime Stoppers had a meeting as well. So they're trying to keep active and putting out a message of safety, working with the police. There was the weekend for the Love to Dance dancers. Yeah. And then also on the 14th, the tennis club had a fundraiser at the Grant. So thanks, Dan. It was great. ESS had a meeting in the cadet hall, which is great to have that there. Actually nice to be in that building and have a space to meet. Just a space to meet that isn't kind of a closet for all your supplies. And then the police committee meeting on the 19th was informative. So that really kind of gave some insight to some of the calls that we're getting. The grad ceremony was quite active, everything with the whole weekend. I got voluntold to do a lot of things all weekend, whether I wanted to or not. And then of course the 20th, there was the Indigenous Day. And so there was a lot of pieces of equipment. CNA had a lot of tables. So that was nice to see. Unfortunately for the rain, I think there probably would have been more people. So yeah, it was a busy couple weeks. Thanks.
Councillor, yeah.
Thank you. So on June 17, I attended this seminar. It was delivered by Cooperative First. It was very interesting to see how different municipalities across Canada have started co-ops to address specific needs in their communities. There was many studies done, and I will be attending the follow-up seminar. So I think that it could be beneficial, for us to get familiarized with co-ops. That's something that we will have to deal with. So as well, I attended the grad walk and the grad parade. It was very well organized. I want to say I want to congratulate my son Carlos Holguin that he graduated MSS. So that's it.
Myself, June 10th to 12th, I was out of town at TNRD at the Clinton. In Clinton, I've driven through Clinton 1,000 times. I've never really stopped. Quaint little place, 600 people. Over the 2 days, we stayed at a place out there called Echo Valley. If you want to drop into a little piece of heaven, that's the place to go. It's an unbelievable place. You cannot believe that's in the middle of nowhere, but there it is. Also, we met with the 10 Halashan 10 First Nations, took us on a tour and explained cultural modified trees. I had no idea a thing existed. And the way the tree is modified is if you put your back to it and you go to the next one, that's how you move through the forest. You never get lost. So I had no idea this happened until they showed us the culturally modified trees. And these have been culturally modified hundreds of years ago. So when you see a tree growing and you see that great big huge tear and it looks like the bark is split, that's usually a culturally modified tree by First Nations showing direction. We also went to a place where there was at Monk Park, we have the bowls where there's 130 of them in this one spot. That's become quite the place to to visit and see, because some are really huge, obviously the city halls of the time, and then some of them are smaller, which is the locals. But what's interesting about it is they'll have to destroy several of them just to get the idea of what happened there. So in order to understand what happened in the past, you actually have to destroy some of it that's there, which is kind of sad, but it's very interesting to see these kind of things. It was a very, very interesting trip. I'm glad I went. On the 13th, I went to the NVIT graduation ceremony. We handed out, we handed out nothing. It was a great ceremony, lots of graduates. It was just packed. You couldn't find a parking spot. I had to park practically at Walmart to get there, but it was really a good ceremony. Really enjoyed it. We had from the 16th to the 20th, we had the Vancouver Soaring Club up at the airport annual safari. They've come back to do that again. The weather wasn't the greatest, but they did manage to get up 3 or 4 days. I managed to go for a ride, which was great. On the 16th was the MSS grad. We handed out 3 scholarships, one to Savannah Ho, the other to Ezekiel Thuvison and Miguel Etchart Viguera. Great night. I think it's really neat now that they have a separate night to hand out the awards. It seems to focus more on the achievements of the kids, whereas before it was everything. It was the valedictorian, this. So it really focuses, and it was a great, I think there was 53 awards totaling $160,000. So that was really nice. So some really smarty pants kids, and now real life starts as of like Monday. 17th, I went to the food and bag and town walk, like I always do. 18th was the mayors and chairs with wildfire update. 18th was Nicola Meadows. I go in there every month to talk to the folks, and they ask a lot of really neat questions. We had the police committee meeting on the 19th. On the 20th, I went to National Indigenous Peoples Day and really enjoyed it, even though it was raining. It was great. And then we met with Nicola Water Governance, NWGP. We met with them to discuss about the future of water in the valley. And that's where it's going to be interesting. I'm not sure if we're on the group board yet, but they're wanting some input from us as well. So we'll work with them as well. So, and that'll get us closer to a memorandum of understanding. That'll be part of it as well. So, and then today I did the food bank and the town walk again today and got asked some questions. So that's it. Anyone else?
Yeah, me.
Oh, Councilor Petrosi.
I only did one thing. No, June 19th, I attended the police committee meeting and just wanted to mention the mental health calls they have received last month, a total of 16. And those are, local Meritonians, and it has been taxing on police manpower to, deal with these issues. We don't have the facilities in Merritt to deal with it. So a lot of the time they actually have to be transported to Kamloops. So it's very, for manpower wise, we could be a person down for that whole day. So just wanted to mention that. My granddaughter Lily also graduated, and thanks to Councillor Olgren for sort of stepping in for me. I was not there. I could not attend, but I think you actually had a dance with her too. So thank you very much. And Canada Day breakfast, July 1st. Looking forward to that. And yeah, that's it.
Yes.
Thank you.
This is the weekend for it. CEO report.
Yep, so your council resolutions and your fire department activity are there. I also wanted to comment on some of the things that we saw or heard from Staff Sergeant Rhoda. I know that we do our report from them at the beginning of our first council meeting of the month, but if you haven't watched the police committee meeting, please do. They have seized 70 illegal firearms this year from in the community, 111 mental health act calls, which, as Councillor Petrosi said, takes up hours of a member's time. And we all know that we're not fully staffed. We will be getting some additional staff in the next few months, a couple of seasoned members and I think 3 cadets over the next 6 months or so. However, we have several staff that are ready for their transfers. So as new members come in, current members leave. But again, we're on line again this year to be more calls than last year, which was more calls than the year before, which was more calls than the year before. So every year we're just going up a little bit more. We had a visit from UBCM staff today. Apparently every year they go out and try and see a quarter of the staff, the Court of the Municipality staff to talk about priorities from an administrative operational perspective. So we really focused for them on the cost of policing being one of the biggest things that we can no longer afford, and that it's not going to get any cheaper. So we need to have them really advocate for a different funding model for that. Same thing with transit being one of our biggest issues. And focusing, one of the other big focuses on stable funding that does not require us writing a grant proposal for infrastructure improvements that every single community needs. And instead of putting it into, hey, we're going to give you all this much money, but we're going to hold back $10 billion and you're all going to have to write grant proposals for it. We all need the same infrastructure updates. Every community in this country has got aged infrastructure. We really need to push for stuff that we're not competing with other communities to get the funding we need to impact our infrastructure problems. So that was one of the areas we asked them to focus on, because it is a cost to the community for us to write those grant proposals, hours of work, technical experts come in, we have reports that have to be written. And if we don't get the funding, like with DMAF, I think we spent over $100 million or $100,000 on that application and did not get any funding for it. That wasn't taxpayer dollars, it was other funds, but the issue is that it could be, right? So I think that's about it.
Thank you.
Canada Day. Thank you.
I just want to take a moment to thank the fire department. I know they've been extremely busy with some of the activities we've had, so they've been on that a lot, and so hopefully that changes for them, but I really appreciate the job they're doing. It's an easy job. Any questions on the CAO report? Okay, moving on. Information items, Nicola Valley Pro Rodeo Association sponsorship. We have a recommendation that council support the 2025 Nicola Valley Pro Rodeo at a platinum sponsorship level of 5,000 with funds to be drawn from the sponsorship fund. Councillor Baxter, Councillor Petrosi, any questions on this? Oh, Councillor Egan, you're first.
Yes, thank you. I was just, and I think I sent a letter in this regard that I think that should be made a line item, because we keep sponsoring it for the same amount every year. That's my suggestion.
Well, I think that's something we could talk about. I know there's some issues with line items as opposed to other things, so we don't have to address it tonight, but yeah, if we could get the pros and cons of that, it would be nice.
Yeah, CFO will make sure that that is discussed.
Sure.
Next budget cycle, which is just a couple months away.
Yeah, I know.
Come September.
Yep. Excellent. Councillor Chair.
What do we have left in our sponsorships for funds?
I do believe this is it.
No, but like, yeah.
So the rodeo and the school districts scholarships would fully subscribe that budget for the year.
Yeah, we're done.
So we still had the room left for it?
Yeah, yeah.
We have the funds to be able to go up to the platinum level. That will
Okay.
fully subscribe that line in for the year.
Okay,
Yeah, we decided to put that away last year.
okay. Wasn't sure,
Yeah.
because I thought that we had spent,
No.
yeah.
Any other questions? Oh, Councillor Rogan.
So staff, can you please remind me any other financial support that the rodeo has received from the city?
Yeah, CFO, I believe they do get a permissive tax exemption from the city as well. But can you confirm that? Which is in the Sophie, I think.
Yeah, I need a mic on over there, please. Yep. CFO.
$9,289.83 was 2024. So in 2024, we were still doing a lot of 100% exemptions. We made a lot of modifications between signing specific percentages in land versus improvements and things like that. So 2025 could look different. I'll have to check what we did for 2025's permissive exemption.
Thank you. Councillor Rogan. Any other questions on that? in favor? Opposed? Carried.
If you want to take a, sorry, I know you just voted. I didn't get back fast enough. If we just want to wait for a sec, I think the CEO is going to pull up the bylaw with the percentage that we gave this year for president tax exemption, if that matters to anybody. No, okay.
I mean, that's just me unless somebody else wants to see it. I mean, no, no. Moving on, information items. We have 1, 2, 3 of them. Just want to comment on the reports from Councillor Chern and Councillor Egan. Very nice. Thank you very much. Well done. Appreciate that. They were good reads. And this food hub thing seems to be quite the conversation. Councillor Egan.
I would just say I'm looking forward to feedback from all of you on this because there are some amazing projects that other communities have done. As you can see, we highlighted 3, I think, and they're creating all kinds of new young entrepreneurs and more, retired entrepreneurs or home-based business people that are actually coming out and they work in these places or they rent a space where they aren't required to go out and buy they don't have to put out a whole lot of money to get all the expensive equipment. So they can test their ideas, find out if it's viable, and then work in there for 6 months, get some income generated, and then move on and start their own business. It's extremely, I think it's an ingenious idea. As well as the co-op idea, we've got so many entrepreneurs farming in the area. We're talking about what was the greens, the greeneries,
Microgreens.
the microgreens. Well, not just microgreens. I mean, we've got people that are doing canning. We could have our own desert hills right here. So I think it's really worth looking into. And with co-ops, everybody has one vote and everybody's an owner. So nobody can come in and say, well, I've got more money, so I've bought more shares or anything like that. Everybody has an equal vote and everybody decides what the guidelines are. So I think these are both projects that we should look into for merit because of centrally where we're located. They're great ideas.
Councillor Hogan.
I just want to mention that, yes, I think that co-ops, it's an option. I feel that we have to explore what we want to move forward here. There are only 3 types of co-ops in BC compared to the rest of Canada, where there are 5 different types of co-ops. So we have to expand of what is going to have, what need we are going to be addressing and how we are going to form the co-op. So regarding youth, again, we have done many things like the Junior Dragons Den, Lemonade Day, Mayor Youth Entrepreneurship Program. So there are so many programs out there that other municipalities are doing in partnership with Community Futures and Chamber of Commerce and other organizations. So just to give you an example, that Kamloops Community Futures is doing the market loan. So for any people, under certain age that they want to do market test of their product or service, they receive a loan, no interest. So once they are able to sell the product at the farmers market or the fall market, then they are able to repay the loan, right? So there is a risk there. There is no collateral on that one. So if we come up with something like this, we can approach organizations as Community Futures where they can provide the funding to be able to support these different initiatives for the youth. So sky is the limit. So we have to work on that.
Sean, I'm thinking of Sean. He's one of the fellows that we talked to at the co-op. Sorry, man, Councillor Holden. He's willing to come here and make a presentation. So I think we should probably invite him. He's very, very keen. He got back in touch with me 2 or 3 times in the 2 weeks after the convention. So he's very keen to help us.
Well, I think we have a little bit of a start with that. When you look at Valley Grays, I mean, they use several people in this valley to keep them stocked and running, right? So I think you could build off of that.
Yeah, for sure.
Because that's because the bakery, I mean, I hit the farmer's market every weekend for the bread from that bakery, right? So so, you can see that happening. CAO?
So we actually happen to be in a really good place because we have a staff member who's working with us right now who has extensive experience in agri-food funding. food hubs being one of the projects that she's worked on, as well as some co-op stuff. So we are in a position right now where because we've got her on other projects, she's doing a lot of our social development stuff from both a housing and an economic development perspective. So she's already on the grants, trying to find the grant for us, just so you know. Well, that's the next part of it, is getting the money to get a location. We have a couple of ideas.
It's just perfect.
Mhm.
Baby steps.
I know.
Anyone else on this? I have to be honest, once the data center comes in, the heat that is going to be provided is going to possibly start looking at people hot boxing, food hubs. No, that with the sea cans situation. So you know that there's going to be something coming out of that. Somebody is going to jump on that. And when we had the gentleman here a little while ago from Cook's Ferry that was talking about kind of a smaller food hub for his nation, but also could expand a little further. So he did give us a good presentation on that. And talking with Hiram, they're looking at doing the same thing, but they've had to kind of pull back a little bit on that. So there is groups talking about this in the valley. So, okay, yeah. Yep. Yeah. So also there's a letter of commendation from the Nicola Valley Transportation Society. I don't know if you've read it. And it was nice that Transit was there to help the night of the fire and get everybody to where they needed to be. So thanks to Lori and Bill for their willingness to respond to this emergency event and assure them that both the hotel evacuees and emergency support services greatly appreciated their work on the 13th of June. So thank you very much to them as well. So thank you, Transit. Really appreciate that. Closed session, recommendation that this meeting be closed to the public pursuant to C, labor relations or other employee relations, and E, the acquisition or disposition of expropriation of land or improvements if council considers that disclosure could reasonably be expected to harm the interest of the municipality of the community charter. Councilor Petrosi, Councilor Ogun, all those in favor, going into closed? 5 minutes. Mike's off.